All right, guys, thank you so much for jumping on here. If you've been to our YouTube channel or you've been to our Facebook page, you've seen us putting out a lot of content around the idea of buying and selling businesses or flipping commercial properties. And there's so much opportunity here. I wanted to put together a webinar so you guys can see what we're doing, how we're doing it. There's a lot of great information I'm about to go over with you, and you are going to learn something. Get out some paper and a pen, take some notes, get in a quiet place. I promise you, you're going to love this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you here, and we'll go ahead and dive right in. This is going to be something that is absolutely one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my lifetime. And so I'm excited about sharing it. If you ever run into me at a party, this is what I'm going to be talking about. Okay, so if I ever trap you in a corner, we're going to talk about mergers and acquisitions. And I know that sounds like the most boring thing in the world, but after you're done watching this, I promise you, you are going to be blown away. So let's talk about this. So why do we call it blue ocean investing? Well, one of my favorite books is called Blue Ocean Strategy. So I totally ripped off the name, right? Well, the reason that that book exists is because usually in the marketplace, a lot of big corporations, even small companies, they operate in what's called a red ocean. There's a ton of competition. You're really kind of competing on price, and then you got to really take these different strategies about segmenting out customers and really focusing down on your target and maybe specializing in something instead of being broad. And it's just a lot more moving parts going on as opposed to what the book talks about as a blue ocean strategy. Just forget all that and just jump into the ocean where you pretty much have the whole place to yourself. And so that's what we have done. And so the reason we're putting out this content is because there's no way we can take advantage of all of this. So we're going to share it. So come along with us. We're going to talk about some really cool things. So when we talk about mergers and acquisitions, we talk about the blue ocean of mergers and acquisitions. EPI, that's the Exit Planning Institute, they estimate that 4.5 million businesses are going to transition over the next 10 years, representing $10 trillion of value. That is gigantic. And 63% of these small to medium-sized businesses are owned by baby boomers. They've owned it for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. They've been in this business. And only 10 to 20% of the businesses that are listed are actually going to sell because there's not enough buyers. So over 80% of businesses go on sell. Google it. We didn't make this stuff up. This is multiple sources are providing this data. Over 80% of businesses don't sell. And these are good businesses. A lot of them are profitable. They've got good reputations. They've got good employees. They've got some systems and processes. They've got some management in place. These are good opportunities that are just going to go untaken advantage of. I know that's not a word, but we're going to go with it anyway. So since our first deal, we've been able to purchase millions of dollars of businesses and commercial real estate with using none of our own money. And there was not a line out the door to get it. We were their only option. So there's a lot more room for negotiation and the ability to do some things. And so by the end of this talk, you're going to know the specific steps to buy your first business and make money when you close with none of your own money, not using any of your own money, just a little bit of training. And you can do this in your spare time. When I first started this back in 2017, I started this in my spare time. I had a full-time job. And we've been able to turn this into a multi-million-dollar operation just by taking advantage of the opportunities that are there. So why are we doing this? We're being contacted daily. People are starting to get wind of what we're doing. And these are from opportunity seekers and investors, and they want to be a part of this movement. And it really is a movement. So how do we reach the 1%? This is something that so many of us attain or shoot for and never attain. But the way you get there is you do what the other 99% aren't doing. And nobody's doing this. I mean, nobody, because there are some moving parts. So what we've been able to do is take something complicated and really reduce it down to something a lot more simple. And so that's what we're going to be talking about here. So you're going to understand this. So let's talk about the float plan. So if you notice, our theme is blue ocean. And so we're going to be using, maritime lingo. So we're going to talk about the captain. Who's the captain of the ship? Who's driving this thing? So we're going to talk about me as one of my favorite subjects. So we're going to talk about the voyage, how we got here. how we got where we are. Surf and turf. Instead of meat and potatoes, we're going to go with surf and turf. And let's talk about some deals. Let's talk about some things that we've actually done. And then we're going to talk about in our shipbuilding segment, we're going to talk about deal structure, how we put these things together. Then we're going to go through some navigational charts here and really map out a plan for you guys. Anybody that wants to really take advantage of that 80% of the marketplace that businesses that aren't selling. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about Captain Who. All right, who the heck is Chris Isbell? So I am currently operating as the CEO of Clear Capital LLC. This is a mergers and acquisitions company. You can go to our website, check us out, clearcapitalpartners.com. We put together a partnership where we've got some professionals, we've got some investors, we've got operators, we've got different people who all function under that Clear Capital heading. And this is our investment arm. This is what we're buying and selling businesses under. And we've got multiple other entities that are kind of woven throughout there, but this is our main operating arm. And then we've got Blue Ocean Investing, and this is our educational company. Buyingblueoceans.com. You've probably already been there. If you're watching this, then that's how you got here. But we are an education company. So we are committed to providing education and tools and materials, processes, and that type of thing to folks who want to get in to this industry. So that's what I currently am. Now let's take you back a little bit. This was in 1997, a year after I was married. And I specifically took this picture right here because I knew one day, dadgummit, hell or high water, I was going to be successful. And when I mean successful, specifically financially. And this is where I was newly married. I drove this truck. This truck right here was a piece of crap. It would literally grind. The axle would grind so loudly coming down the road. People could hear me coming a mile away, literally a mile away. That's not even an exaggeration. I was delivery driving for a company called Stakeout, where they deliver steak and chicken, like pizza delivery delivers pizza. And I was working 70 hours a week trying to pay off some debt. And I never saw my wife. I'd kiss her goodbye in the morning and kiss her goodnight in the evening. And I would wake up and do it all again. For a solid year, I would do that because I had a dream. And I knew that if I'd work hard enough, I could dig my way out of the debt that I was in. And I'd be able to start going to the next phase, which was to start investing in something. Well, it was in that trailer right behind here that I was on the floor one night in the living room, and I had the TV on, and it was late, 1 o'clock in the morning. I was probably up trying to figure out how I was going to pay some bills or something. And an infomercial came on TV that talked about how to buy real estate with no money down. A guy by the name of Carlton Sheets, No Money Down course. Many of you may have come across this or used it at some point in your life. And I'm like, well, dadgum, I bet I could do that. I bet I could, go out. These testimonials don't seem any more, any smarter than I do. So if they can do it, I can do it, right? So I got the book, cracked it open, and sure enough, man, I was able to, as I was delivery driving in that truck, I came across a property that was for sale. I put an offer on it using one of the techniques, and I cashed out $4,000. I'm like, well, shoot, man, that doesn't seem too hard. Let's do it again. So I kept going, and I kept going. And eventually, Carlton Sheets' crew got wind of what we were doing. And so they called and they invited us to be on their infomercial down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They had rented this really nice mansion. We went down and talked to Carlton Sheets. And this is my wife, and she's holding my daughter here. And my daughter at the time, she's 18 years old now. But at the time, she was 5 weeks old. And so we flew down there and was on his show. And something he said to me, which was really interesting. He said, Chris, you're part of the 2%. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, across all informational products and programs that are sold, only 2% of people actually do something with the information that they get and actually implement it. And 98% of people never do anything with it. So I'm like, well, holy cow, that's remarkable. Why would somebody not take this information and do something with it? So the first thing I would say to you guys is don't be part of that 98%. There's opportunity here, but wide open opportunity. Don't be part of the 98% of people that don't do something when there's information readily available. So we went on from there. We kind of kept growing. We kind of kept doing stuff. I ended up writing a book and getting it published. This was a book called Don't Drive, Be Driven, about how to build a business that will drive you where you want to go instead of you having to always be in the driver's seat. calling the shots and all that. How do you get a business to serve your life? And I'm not trying to sell you a book today. I just love business in general. I say this because this was so important in me eventually winding up where I am today and just understanding the mechanics of business itself and how to work on a business and not in it. So I kept going. We kept opening subdivisions and we kept doing all kinds of cool stuff and building. And I had California investors coming in, buying properties from us. And we were going. I had 300 rental units at one time. This was a subdivision of townhomes that I had built, had 68 townhomes in it. And we were having the time of our lives. And then guess what? 2008 happened. Many of you listening in probably remember what happened in 2008. And I went through about 18 months of just bleeding cash until I eventually ran out of money. We were done. Had to hang it up and start completely over. And I tell you what, that sucked. You learn a lot of lessons and it wasn't fun. So what I did is I got into the insurance business and started going door to door selling insurance policies for 2 years. I was literally in the trenches, going door to door, door knocking, trying to get into a house and sell a policy. And I got pretty good at it. And I could get into a house and talk somebody into it and walk out with an application. And I started making good money, and I started kind of building our way back up to where, we had lost everything. And so we just relocated, and I moved into a little 2-bedroom condo, and then we were able to get a townhome, and then we were able to get a house. And then we started working. I partnered with some guys and we built an agency, and these guys had been there before. And so I wanted to follow what they had done. And so we partnered together and started training people, agents all across the country, and showing them how to be successful. And we ended up building a $26 million agency all over the country. We had thousands of agents all over the country, and we really got really, really good at it. But then in 2017, I started getting that itch. I wanted to get back into real estate. Some things were changing in the insurance industry, and so I wanted to start looking at getting into something else. And so here's my voyage from insurance to how I got to where I am right now. Like I said, there were some things on the platform that I was operating on with the agency that I was a part of that were changing. It was time to start looking for something different. So I started looking at real estate again, started trying to find out. I've been out of the game for like 10 years, and I'm like, okay, what can I do to get, back in the right frame of mind to get back into this? What's the market like? How's all that going to work? And so in searching for all that real estate stuff, I stumbled across those small business facts. If you remember a few slides back, we talked about 80% of the businesses go unsold, and 63% of them are owned by baby boomers who are going to be retiring out of the system. And I just continued to find all these facts. In fact, here's some more. 80 to 90% of business owners' wealth is tied up in their business. Over half have given little to no attention to their transition plan. 88% have no written plan of transition. 80% have never sought any advice. 70% don't know what kind of income they need once they sell their business. 25% of them aren't even comfortable with the management team they have in place being able to operate the business. So, or 75% aren't comfortable. 25% are. So just staggering amount of statistics here that really show the state of Main Street, the state of small business, and the opportunity that's there to be able to come in and buy a business for a great price and turn it around and make something great out of it. So I said, okay, let's just test the market. I've been doing direct mail in the insurance business for a long time, and I said, let's mail out some letters to some business owners and let's just see what happens. And all the business, it was 3 sentences. Literally, I still use the letter to this day. 3 sentences that say, hey, I came across your business. I'd be interested in buying it. If you would like to have a conversation, call me. And that's pretty much it. I sent out these letters. I was hoping for a 1% response, because that's a great response. If you can get a 1% response, then that's standard across most markets. You're going to get about a 1%. Turns out I got a 10% response. 50 business owners called me back. I'm like, holy cow, what in the world am I going to do now? So I started looking. I started saying, who else is doing this? Who else is just buying a bunch of businesses in this market space? I mean, I couldn't find anybody. I was all over the internet. I couldn't find anybody that I could learn from on how to do it. So I went on a journey. I found a guy in London, in the UK, actually lives in Singapore. A guy by the name of Jeremy Harbour. He has this course he does that talks about deal structure and kind of how to do this in the small business space. It's just all in the UK. Now, he's just recently started coming over to the US, but I'm like, I've got to figure this out. So I flew to London and I learned under this guy, spent a weekend with him. And he was able to teach me to get over that hump. I had 50 businesses wanting to talk. I didn't know, I didn't have a contract to use. I didn't have any checklists or spreadsheets to analyze businesses. I didn't know how to negotiate, what's even a good deal to buy a business for. I had no idea. So I had to go and figure it out. So I flew to London to do this. Then I came back. I'm like, okay, I need to look legit. So I hired a marketing guy. I came back and I started making some offers. And then I started getting all legal papers and finance papers from people and P&Ls and tax returns. I'm like, crap, I need a team here. So I hired an attorney and a CPA and operators and different things that could help me in all of these offers that I was making and all this stuff that I was doing. We finally got to our first deal. It took a year and 11 months of me just kind of figuring it out, talking to lots of business owners and asking what they wanted and figuring out the analysis stuff. I mean, there were so many moving parts to this. It was shocking. Finally, we got to our first deal. Now, we went from there, we expanded our team. We started partnering, or we hired analysts, we got operators, we had to get some consultants and some sourcing brokers to help us find deals and all kinds of different things to build out what we wanted to be something that would make a major impact in the industry, something that would really make waves, really put us on the map, and we could do this on a very large scale. And that's what we were after. Then we hit our stride. We started streamlining our processes. We continued to close deals, and we started gaining attention in the M&A community. And now we're traveling around, speaking at different M&A training events, because this is really catching on and people are wanting to do this, but there's still so much room. In fact, remember my 98% rule? You see all these people in these rooms here, 98% of them aren't going to do anything with it. They're really not. Just like 98% of the people watching this webinar won't do anything with it. It's just the fact. So here's what I got right. Every instance of success in my life started when I found someone who had been where I wanted to go, and I just followed their playbook. That's it. You look at insurance, I partnered with guys who'd been there before, and I just followed their playbook. With Carlton Sheets, he had been there before. I followed his playbook. Jeremy Harbour, the guy in London, he's done it. I followed his playbook. That's it. It's that simple. If there's anything you want to do in your life, just find somebody who's done it and follow their playbook. That's it. That's all you got to do. When you sit with the winners, the conversation is different. Who are you hanging around? This guy on the left of your screen, Andy Andrews, he actually lives in my neighborhood down here in Orange Beach, Alabama. Some of you may have heard of him. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He travels the world speaking at different events, and he's a great, great guy. And this is us out at the Polar Bear Plunge this last year down here every January 1st. Everybody dresses up funny and they dive into the ocean. Now, Andy Andrews wasn't diving that day, but I was. And if you notice on the left-hand side, or my left wrist, there where my watch is, there's a bracelet. And I had made a decision. This was the beginning of 2018. And we've been doing the M&A stuff for a while. And I made a commitment then. I said, this is going to be the year where I'm going to make a full transition from my insurance agency to mergers and acquisitions, because the opportunity is too big to ignore. And sure enough, I was able to, in 2018, make that full transition. And we've done several deals. We've been able to hit and exceed our goals because there's just so much out there. Right-hand side, a lot of you guys know who Zig Ziglar is. Great guy, he's passed away now. But whenever you hang around people who are positive, who are going places, who have been where you want to go, dadgummit, it's going to rub off on you. So that's why that is so important. So after 27 years in business, what I've discovered is there's a definite hard way to get there. And that's the figuring it out on your own as you go, which a lot of business is. But there is a definite easier way, and that's following people who've been there before. So it's really not a matter of how. We can show you how, but it's more of a matter of who. Who are you hanging out with? Who are you taking advice from? Who are you allowing to lead you? And whoever you're following, are they going somewhere you want to end up? I mean, that's the big question you need to ask. Your boss. Is your boss somebody you want to be when you are able to move up the ladder? Do you want to be that person? Ask yourself that question. Now we're going to dive into surf and turf. We're going to dive into the meat and potatoes. This is going to be the best part of what we're going to go through. This is my favorite part of what we're going to go through here. So we're going to talk about shipbuilding. This is going to be our deal structure. I'm going to go through 3 case studies with you. I'm going to go through our very first deal that we ever did. We've learned some lessons there. I'm going to go through our second deal by showing you what we implemented from what we learned in our first deal. And then I'm going to show you our most profitable deal to date. All right, now this should be pretty easy to follow. I've got lots of pictures and stuff we're going to look at. But the first thing I wanted to go over with you is our target companies. You say, Chris, well, what kind of companies do we even look at? Well, here's what we look at. We look at what we call Amazon-proof businesses. These are businesses that we would consider to be, it'd be hard for Amazon to take over these industries. And I'll show you on the next slide what some of those are. Then we've got, I wanted businesses that are 5 years or more in business, 5 or more employees, preferably with some management, and doing $500,000 to $5 million a year in revenue. That's kind of the sweet spot. Preferably with real estate, and I'll show you why here in just a little bit of why we like businesses that also own the real estate they operate out of. It's not required, but we like it. And then obviously some open-minded owners that are willing to do some creative stuff. You know, not every owner, and I promise you, 90% of the deals that are done out there, people aren't just getting a check and walking away. There's some creative structuring going on because you have to in this space. Here's some of the identified verticals that we use. We're heavy into childcare. We like pet boarding, auto repair, HVAC, which is heating and air, plumbing companies, dry cleaning. These are some things that it's going to be hard for Amazon or some online company to watch your kids, board your dog, fix your car, repair your HVAC, unstop your toilet, dry clean your clothes. So we wanted, these are what I call your boring businesses. There's nothing sexy about any of these. They're boring, but they need to be available in every community. And there's a demand for this stuff pretty much all the time. Doesn't matter usually if there's a recession going on, people still need their cars fixed. They need their air to work, especially if you're in the South. They need their toilets to work. So these are all things that we feel safe that we're buying. So these are some of the types of businesses we look at. So let's go over our first deal. This is a learning center that we looked at in Georgia. Now they offer some other things like gymnastics and wrestling and karate and some different stuff. It's for like some after school programs and that kind of thing. That's why that's plastered all over the side of the building. But just to kind of show you how this is structured, we did, they were asking 1.3 million, and that's for the real estate and the business itself. So those are 2 things. And I'm going to show you how we kind of break those apart in our deal structure. The revenue this was bringing in was $340,000. The operational profit was $60,000. So they would do $340,000 in revenue a year. They would get to keep 60 grand. Not a ton. They had bought another business, a security business. And the opportunity here was they were only open 5 hours a day. Actually 4 hours a day, from 2:30 in the afternoon doing after school programs to 6:30 at night. So 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week. So the plan with this was to open up some earlier child care type programs in the morning, like a mom's day out, and maybe some later night things like parents' night out or birthday parties on Saturdays. There's a lot of things that we could do to take advantage of this. So we ended up using our favorite method of buying a property, and that's what I'm going to go over with you here, and that's the sale leaseback. Now, Chris, what the heck is a sale leaseback? Let's talk about that. This was the strategy we used. Let's say we look at John's Auto Repair. Now, John owns the property, and he also owns the business that operates out of the property. Now, the property has a lot of locked up capital in there. So he's making payments, but that's not money he can just pull out real quick. So there's a lot of capital that he had to spend on that building and the facility itself. So what we'll do is, in a typical situation, is John, let's say he needs some capital out of his business, so he'll sell the property to an investor to get the cash out of it, and then so the investor will pay John, whatever the building is worth, and then the business will then rent the property back from the investor. So what it does is, maybe he's paying a mortgage payment each month, and he's got $500,000 of equity. We can sell that property to an investor to get that $500,000 out of it, and then he gets to stay there in the property and keep operating. None of the customers are none the wiser, and then he just rents the property back from the investor. So the investor then now makes a good return on his investment. John gets to stay in his building, and now he just pays rent to the investor. That's a sale leaseback. That's the term, sale and then lease back. So that's what it's called. So in the sale leaseback thing, there are a lot of investors that want to buy these kinds of properties. We have our own fund that we use to buy these kind of properties. Commercial property is very, very attractive and very profitable, especially something called a triple net lease. So then you got commercial real estate investors, you got REITs, real estate investment trusts, who also love commercial property. There's investment groups, what are called family investment offices, 1031 tax-free exchange investors, all love commercial property. All right, now there's some things that have to happen to make the commercial property maintain its value, and one of those is a profitable business to pay the rent. That's really where the value is. So that is an important piece of it. So how in the world does this apply to how you buy a business? So let's talk about a sale leaseback. That's what SLB stands for, as an acquisition strategy. So here we are. We got this child care facility. We want to buy it. We don't want to write a check for $1 million. So here's a option of how we can structure our deals to make this happen. So let's take that same John's Auto Repair. He owns the property and he also owns the business, right? We'll put a purchase agreement in place for both of them. So we'll do one contract for the property and we'll do another contract for the business, okay? Then we'll take and simultaneously, if there's any home flippers or wholesalers on the watching this, then you understand how this works. You put a contract on a house, and then you've got some cash buyers. You go to a simultaneous closing where you buy it from the seller and then immediately turn around and sell it to the cash buyer. Same thing. We'll close on all of it, but the property will carve out and sell that to an investor. So the investor then now has paid us for the property. And then we also now own the business because we bought it at the same time. And so now we'll rent the business back from the investor. The investor makes his return on his investment. And then what we'll do is, now we're operating these businesses. We'll do the same thing, duplicate it over and over. We'll take several like kind of businesses. Say it's an auto repair business. We'll buy John's Auto Repair, Doug's Auto Repair, Chris's Auto Repair, Keith's Auto Repair, and we'll bundle them together. And then we sell them off to a large buyer. This could be a national chain. This could be an equity fund. And I'm going to show you some magic when this happens later on. But there's money that can be made during the operations of this. There's also money to be made when you exit. So this is the whole chain of events. Now, I call everything on the right-hand side of this the submarine. We call that hull crush depth. There are a million moving parts with all that part of it. And so I'm going to keep this kind of simple. I'm not going to go into a lot of the intricacies of all this, but let's get back to our learning center there in Georgia. So the first step is we've got a property and a building. So we send off the property information to our property evaluators that we partner with, and they run this on here. And so the only number I really need you to look at on this page, this is the summary they give us of what, if we were to sell this to one of our investors, here's what we could anticipate making as net proceeds. On the bottom of this was $674,985. So that's how much cash, by flipping the property, we can bring to the closing table, right? Well, they wanted $1.3 million. So we got a big difference. We can come up with $674,000 in cash by flipping the real estate, but they want $1.3 million. So we structure an offer like this. Here's the offer we made. All right. The only number I really need you to look at, there's some allocation stuff in here. I'm not going to get buried in this part. There's reasons why we allocate some portion towards the property and some towards the business. But bottom line is we came up with a total selling price of $1 million. Well, we applied and we said, okay, we got $674,000 and change to deal with. So we'll give the seller $675,000 in cash, and we want the seller then to finance for us $325,000. Now, all the rest of this down here below that is just the terms of that $325,000 that they're going to be financing for us. But this is the offer that we made. Again, how much cash are we bringing to the table in this? Well, the goal is $0. So we offered $1 million, which is $300,000 less than they were asking. We got $675,000 from the selling the real estate, and then we asked the seller to carry the difference. Is this making sense? All right, so let's show you how this turned out. So $1 million, seller financed $325,000. which means the cash due at closing would have been $675,000. We got $674,985 from selling the real estate. And so the cash to the seller, we brought $675, which means we had to bring 15 bucks. So we bought this $1 million property for $15 is what it cost us out of pocket, right? Pretty cool. Now the challenge on this, like I talked about, was initially low in cash flow. And so we had to go in and implement some different programs to get the cash flow up, which we were able to do through just utilizing everything that was there, the same staff, the same facility. It was just money there to be taken. The solution, like I said before, is opening up like a Mom's Day Out program, which utilizes that facility now in the morning where it originally wasn't going to be. Let's talk about deal number 2. I'm trying to stay away from getting buried in the weeds here, so keeping this high level. Deal number 2 was another learning center that we found in Tennessee, in East Tennessee. The sale price on this was $2.1 million. The revenue was $836,000 a year is what she was bringing in. So her profit from operations was $150,000 per year. She was ready to retire. She was ready to hang it up. Another baby boomer situation. She was ready to go. So let's see how we structured this one. We sent the real estate portion, like we talked about. I broke out the real estate and I sent that off to our real estate evaluators. And they said, okay, we can sell it for all this, take out the fees. You're going to net $1,990,000 is what the cash will come to the closing table if you flip this building to an investor. All right. Now we got cap rates. There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes into this that I'm not going to get buried in, but basically this is the cash that could come to closing. That's all you need to know. So we made her offer. Okay, we'll give you full price. You want 2.1 million? We'll give you 2.1 million. But a lesson we learned is that, what if we didn't give them all of the cash from flipping the property? What if we kept some of it? So right here, as you can see, we're getting cash of $1,990,000 right here. Well, what if instead we only gave her $1,890,000 of it? Just for kicks and giggles, let's see what she'll do. She took it. We asked her to finance $210,000. We gave her $1,890,000 in cash. So here's how that deal broke down. $2.1 million. We asked her to finance 10% of it, which was $210,000. So that means we would need to bring the rest, which is $1,890,000 at closing. So if we were flipping the property for $1,990,000, and what's funny about this is it just worked out to be exactly $100,000. So no real plan there. It's just how it worked out. But something that was challenging was with her, the $210,000, she was concerned with securing that seller note. Well, we can't put a second mortgage on the property because remember we sold the property, so we can't encumber the property. So we said, well, what about we put $50,000 in an escrow account, and if we don't pay you or don't make a payment, then you can tap into that 50 grand. So she agreed to that. So we took the 100,000 that we cashed out. We just put 50 grand into an escrow account, and the other 50,000 we got to keep. All right. So by doing that, that made her feel better. And I took actually a screenshot. This is a screenshot of the bank account on the day that we closed here. And this shows is $46,000 because we had some closing costs come out of it. But there's our 50 grand right there that came from those closings on this property. And we're like, why don't we just keep doing this? I mean, this is working great. There's so much opportunity. So many business owners have their wealth wrapped up in the property. Let's leverage the property. This makes a lot of sense. So now I'm going to show you our biggest deal. So this is our Arkansas centers. And the price on this at the time, it came across our desk, got sent to me, $4.1 million. And this was 3 locations. So this just wasn't one. This was 3 different locations. And the revenue total between the 3 was $2,435,000 a year. And she was making $500,000 a year operational profit off of these 3 buildings. Again, another baby boomer, ready to retire. She'd been doing this for 30 years and she was ready to hang it up. So she was ready to go. So we took all 3 properties, chunked them over to our real estate evaluators, and they came up and said, all right, we can come up with $3,807,000 is the bottom line after all the fees and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you've noticed over here these last couple times, we did build in a recovery cost. So what we'll do is we will, to fund our operations, we actually build in a recovery fee to every deal. So we will pull out cash out of every deal in this recovery fee right here. So the cash I'm showing you that we're pulling out is actually on top of our own recovery fee here. So that's how we've structured ours. And this just funds all of our office and our people we got out looking for deals for us and all this kind of stuff. All right. So the estimated proceeds, again, after the bottom line was $3.8 million. So here's the offer we made her. We said, all right, you want 4.1, we'll give you $4 million. So pretty much your asking price. And I wanted to see how aggressive I could get. I said, you know what? We're getting 3.8 million. I wonder if I just told her we'd give her 3.2 million of that if she'd take it, which means I'm asking her to finance $800,000 for me. So we made the offer, and through a little bit of back and forth and stuff, we got the offer accepted. So here's how this was structured: $4 million. We asked her to finance 800,000 bucks. We brought 3.2 to cash at closing. We flipped the property for 3.8. So we gave the seller her 3.2, which means we cashed out $607,000 from buying this business. On the day we bought this business, we cashed out. Now, the challenge obviously here was the size and security of that seller note. I mean, $800,000 is a lot of money. And so what we did is we said, through our negotiations, we said, all right, we'll let you file a UCC, which is kind of like a lien on all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, which is all the stuff inside all of the building. These are your chairs and your, desks and refrigerators and all the different things, computers. And so if we go under, you can get in, you've got access to all that stuff, and you can liquidate it and get some of your money back. And there were also 2 commercial lots that was tied to one of these that she had that we actually carved out and didn't include that when we sold it to the investors. It doesn't have any value to them anyway because it doesn't generate revenue. And so what we did is we allowed her to put a lien on those 2 properties that we were retaining. So she could then turn around, and if we default, she could sell those properties, those commercial lots. And between all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment and those 2 commercial lots, it was enough to secure that $800,000. So it's just all about being creative and all about how this works. Now, this is our deposits from that day. It's a little higher than $607,000 because we had some credits for some taxes and some things in there that we were able to get back out of it. So again, this was what was deposited in our account. There were, for whatever reason, in this case, there were 3 different closings for 3 different properties, and we were paid twice out of each closing. So yeah, but it all turned out to be $609,000. Now, I have to say all that to say this: results are not typical. Individual results may vary. Our attorney is making us put this on here. We're just showing you what we have done and what is possible. And these are just 3 of our deals. We've done definitely more than 3 deals. This is just the 3. We can show you many others that we have done. So, but you ask the question, well, what the heck is in it for the investor? Because it seems like you're, what's in it for them if they're paying you and you're cashing out all this money? So the reason these investors really like commercial properties is because it's safe, it's collateralized, you got the property that's with it, and the return rate is anywhere from 7 to 10% with annual increases in the rent. And they're long-term rents. They're like 15 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20-year leases that are signed. Now, we make our leases assumable because when we sell them off, we need them to be assumable. So we did some negotiating there. We've got standard lease agreements that we use, but they've got a long-term tenant. And here's the cool thing about commercial property is we do what's called a triple net lease. So there is no cost to the investor for anything. No insurance cost, no taxes, no repairs, no maintenance. All that falls on the tenant. All that falls on the business that's occupying it. So this is the most hands-off situation for a real estate investment that's available out there. You think about houses, man, think of the costs and the turnover and the repairs and all the different things for residential real estate. Investors love commercial real estate. So they're making a great return on the investment. They can hold it and get that great return, or they could sell it for a higher price. They could buy several of these, bundle them together, sell those off to one of these investment funds or REIT or something like that, and they can make a quick profit as well. So this is very, very attractive to our investors. And we've built relationships with multiple investment groups that are looking for these solid investments. So let's just add all this up. So let's look at Arkansas. Our real estate, the money we made on the flip on that was $609,000. The money we made off of the Tennessee deal was $100,000. Again, actually Georgia cost us 15 bucks, but in round numbers, we made $709,000 at closing. Here's our cash flow from all of these. So our annual cash flow at $870,000 on these. And we've done all of this. I mean, these three were bought in our first 8 months, 9 months, where we really started getting in there and doing this structure. So this can be done very, very quickly. Now, FYI, I wanted to pause here, time out, and say this. We pay a 1% finder's fee of the whole deal, the cost of the whole deal. We have a referral program. If you send us deals and we get the deal done, like just on these right here, we paid out over 70 grand. Just somebody sending it to us, clicking a forward button on an email. And that's all you got to do. And then you can earn a finder's fee out of the deal. So shoot, that's a heck of a good deal, right? But that's not even the good part. There's so much more. So I want to take you into what I also call kind of whole crush debt for just a second. Just a second, I want to take you and show you something that it's absolutely crazy. We do have it on our YouTube channel, so some of this might be familiar, but hearing it again will help. This is where the magic happens. This is where maximizing multiples is. This is the reason I got into this business. This is what excited me the most about it. We talk about monopoly. We talk about the difference between business and real estate. If you notice, there's only two businesses on a real estate board. You've got the railroads, and then you've got the utilities. And these work a little bit differently than the real estate does. And if you were to buy 100 rental homes over the course of a year, 2 years, whatever it is, home number 17 isn't going to be any more valuable because you bought home number 82. 17 is still going to be worth about the same. It doesn't matter if you own one home or 1,000 homes. Home number one is still worth pretty much the same thing, right? It doesn't change. Businesses are different. Businesses with scale are worth more. A railroad, if you buy one railroad and somebody lands on it, they pay you 50 bucks. If you buy a second railroad and somebody lands on your original one, now they owe you 100. If they buy the third and they land on the original one, they owe you 200. If they land on a fourth and they land on the original, they don't have to land on any of the other three that you buy, but just by owning them makes number one more valuable. Okay, same with the utilities. If you own one utility, it's 3 times the roll of the dice is what somebody owes you. But if you own both of them, it's 10 times the roll of the dice. The magic of maximizing the multiples just through scale. So let's talk about how this translates. First off, I want to talk to you about how a business is valued. This is important to know. All I need you to look at is this number right here. This is the multiple of profits. The more risky a business is, and when I mean risky is Joe's Automotive. He owns one location. He works there 30 hours a week. He's got some management, but it's kind of dependent on him. And if you go in there and buy that business, there's a lot of risk there because a lot of it's centered around Joe. And a lot of it is if Joe's one location goes under, you're out. You're 100% out of business. So the risk is high with something like that. So the value of businesses like that in the automotive industry across the whole country on average based on actual sales is 2.64 times profits. Not revenue, but profits, what's left. The average cash flow or profit on a business in auto repair is $129,000 a year. So if you multiply that times that multiple, then the asking price is around $350,000 for just the business. Now, we're not talking about the real estate. This applies to just the business. All right. Hope that makes sense. Now, let's take that 2.64 business. And over here, those small businesses, those Joe's Automotive businesses, those, let's see, Deborah's Bakery, the Joe's Plumbing. I mean, all of these are your small businesses, but they're good businesses. They could be doing good revenues. But that makes up 93% of the small businesses in this country. The majority of small businesses are right here. That's why 80% of them don't sell. And the biggest reason is because you see this giant pool of money sitting up here. These are your equity funds, your national chains, your investment banks, your capital markets. They're never going to look at Joe's Plumbing or Doug's Automotive. They're never going to look at that because it's just too small and it's too risky. So the idea is, how do you get this guy moved over to this guy where he's tapping into that big money now? And when, by the way, when it gets up into that big money, it's not worth 2.64 times profits anymore. Now it's worth 7 times profits. And by the way, that's a conservative number. It's usually anywhere between 6 and 10 times profits based on the market you're in and that kind of stuff. We use 7 here just to give you an example. This is your multi-units. This is Joe's Plumbing, goes out and buys 10 locations over time. Well, now he's kind of tapping into this. He's big enough now where he's got some regional management. He's got some systems in place. He's got a centralized accounting office and shared marketing costs. And now it's worth more because if his first location he ever owned goes under, it's okay. He's got 9 more. It's not a big deal. So the risk is diversified. So now you're tapping into that investment grade money where people are willing to put their dollars into it because the risk is diversified. Okay. Now over here is your capital markets. This is like your publicly traded companies. That's a whole different ball game that I'm not going to get into. But this is just to kind of show you how that works. So here's where the magic happens, guys. We talk about moving them from one to the other. Okay. Let's say you got Joe's Plumbing. He's doing $100,000 a year in profits. So let's say he does $1 million a year in revenue. He keeps 10% of it. He makes 100 grand a year. His current multiple of profits and the value of his business is at that 2.64. So his business, not the real estate, just the business, is worth 264,000. Okay. So let's say I create a holding company and I go and buy Joe's Plumbing, and then I go and buy Doug's and Sarah's and Sally's and whatever. And I've got all these plumbing companies now. They're all exactly the same for the purpose of this example. They're all doing $100,000 a year in profits. Well, now I have $1 million company, $100,000 times 10, $1 million a year profit company. But now because I've tapped into that and I've diversified the risk, now I can get 6 times profits. So now it's worth $6 million. So let's come back over here to this original guy. And if you apply that 6 multiple to this at 100,000, well, now he's worth 600,000. Do you see the difference here? He ain't making any more money. This one location is still making 100,000 a year. But just because it's part of a group, instead of worth 264,000 by himself, now he's worth 600,000 because of being part of that larger organization. That is what got me into this business. This is what has me excited about it. So let's then take these 3 examples that I've got here and apply this to it. Now, this is a lot of numbers, but let's look at this one column at a time. Here's what we paid for the West Tennessee, and I'm talking just the business. This is part of what the owner financed. And by the way, that should say Arkansas. And this is what we paid for the business part of it. So we've got $400,000, $210,000, $325,000. This is what the sellers ended up financing after all the dust settled. Annual profit amounts on these. So if the 870,000 annual profit times our average multiple, basically what we paid divided by into the profits is what we paid as a multiple of profit. So the average multiple that we paid was 1.34, not 2.64. We've only paid 1.34 on average. Once we combine these and make them part of a larger group and we apply, let's just use that same example of a 6 multiple to it, here's what they're worth in selling them as part of a basket. So we bought them for a total of $935,000. We're selling them for $3.9 million. I'm sorry, I'm not even right there. $4.8 million. Our profit is $3.9 million just by making it bigger. That's the big money. That is where the magic happens. And that's what has us excited over this. If you go back to our goal, if you remember our goal, we want to build the largest mergers and acquisitions community in the country, okay? Because there's so much opportunity to be able to do this. We've got affiliates, our referral partners that send us deals. We've got brokers that we work with. We got multiple people that are out scouting things for us, and there's good money to be made there. So when we really sat down and looked at the scope of the opportunity at my company, we said, okay, we got 2 options here. We can keep doing what we're doing, keep with the referral program. We can pay the finder's fees. That's a good deal all the way around for everybody. And we can keep all the details to ourselves and how all this works. Or our second option is invest in developing a training platform that we can duplicate more of what we're doing, and then build some relationships and some like-minded entrepreneurs, and let's share the wealth. There's plenty to go around. There's much more opportunity and collaboration than to keep everything separate. If you don't want to be now or in 10 years where you are now, you have to do something different. There are so many people that are doing the same things, expecting a different result, you know, the whole insanity thing. 10 years from now, your life can look entirely different. I'm about to show you how. I'm about to show you how this can be different for you. So if you give me a second, I want to show you the navigational chart. This is a plan for you. This is an opportunity for you to be able to plug into this. We're offering a 4-week virtual training course. Now, this training course is something that you will not find anywhere. This took us literally 3 years just to figure all this stuff out. It's a ton of just shortcuts, hacks, things that can be done on a much faster scale than it took us. And all that time and all that money that we spent in putting this together, you can tap into. So we got week 1. We're going to talk about just M&A in general. What's an overview of it? We're going to talk about setting the goals and the different common terms and the structure of different things. Week 2, we're going to talk about sourcing deals and lead lists. We've got an opportunity where we can help you send out the same letters that I do and just shortcut that whole thing for you. Talk about identifying yourself as an investor, taking calls from sellers that respond to your letters, setting those appointments. What information are you going to collect? Week 3, we go into a discovery. We have a discovery tab. I'm going to show you in a minute the cool tools that we have. But we talk about educating the seller, running quick valuations on is this a good deal or not? And you can know that super fast. Submitting the seller info, online listing sites. Week 4, we're going to talk about doing the analysis work and how to run a forecast of what the profit and losses are going to be once you take over the business. Making the offer, different options. One of those options is doing an earn-out because sometimes there's a big difference between what it's worth and what they want. So we're going to talk about how to overcome that. Combining the sell leaseback into the roll-ups and the different things that we can do to make you a lot of money. There's some really amazing tools that we've built. So we'll give you many templates and scripts and worksheets and breakdowns of different things to look for and how to structure things and unlimited updates to all of that stuff. BlueOceanTools.com. You aren't able to access it because it does take a code. But to give you some screenshots, this is what it looks like. And if you notice right up top here, we've just got some tabs that you work your way across. So you click on the sourcing tab and it's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. This is an opportunity for you to mail your letters. This talks about the businesses that we go through. We have non-disclosure agreements there that you can provide to the sellers. And this right here in the center is a script. It tells you exactly what to say and the information to collect. And when you hit submit on that, it automatically emails out 3 different people: the seller, yourself, and us to help you navigate through what the seller is going to need, the information you need to collect, what they're going to expect from you, the whole thing. So this tells you exactly what to say, how to say it, and the questions to ask. And we walk you through that in actually a live recording so you can hear an actual live call of how to go through that situation right there. You click on the discovery tab. And this is a cool tab because this is going to give you a way to quickly figure out what a business is worth. When you select an industry, let's use HVAC, for instance. You select the industry, and then you can fill out all of these different terms in here, and it gives you a value. It plugs in the multiplier, automatically inserts the value here when you select your industry. And these are based on national sales, but all this is built in and updated. And you can see what the business is worth, what it's worth if you include the real estate, and just to kind of find out quickly what a business is worth. It'll take you, 2 minutes to fill this thing out with the information you're going to collect. Then when you go to the analysis tab, so it looks like it's worth going forward, we've got a forecast spreadsheet that automatically generates an offer based on the numbers that we're going to teach you on how to put in there. It automatically does that. And then when you go to the submission tab, you can submit everything to us. We can help you review it, offer the feedback, and so you can determine if it's a good deal or not and walk you through that whole thing. And once you've done this a couple times, you got it. It's real easy. There's also some additional tabs on here for goal settings. We got training videos. We've got some more analysis worksheets that you can go through. So tons and tons of tools and resources for this thing. And so we put together a package here that I think you're going to be excited about. So we've got the 4 weekly trainings. Now we do a live event. We have a 3-day live weekend that we charge roughly $10,000 for. We do offer some specials, doing it for $89.75, where we actually bring you in and we do a hands-on workshop for 3 days. This is the same info as that. We just do it virtually. We have a 3-month mastermind group, $4.95 a month. This is access to deal makers, coaches. We do calls where we talk about our deals, interview people that are doing it. We've got some incredible activity that's going on with folks that are out talking to business owners, taking those phone calls, setting the appointments, collecting the information, putting out offers, and we get to talk about all that stuff as a group. 12 months access to the blueoceantools.com. We charge $397 a month for that. And all of this is included in this virtual training package. Future versions of all the trainings and recordings that we're doing, unlimited access to all of that. So anytime anything's tweaked or changed or anything like that, we'll send it to you. So the value here is $16,000 worth of stuff. And that right there is dirt cheap. It cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars of figuring this out over the last few years. But $16,000. Now, if we were to cut this in half, it'd be worth over $8,000. However, with this particular deal we're doing right now, we're doing it for 90% off, for $14.97 is what we're going to be offering this for. But wait, I did offer some additional stuff. We do have payment plans available for this, so you can ask about that, some payment plan options. But hold on a sec, I got some more here for you that will absolutely blow you away. This is a guy, Jonathan Wright. I just sent this guy a check, another check. He has made over $50,000 to date, and he's just doing the referral thing. He's just sending us stuff. He's doing a fantastic job. I met him about a year ago, and he's just doing this part-time. He's doing a phenomenal job. He'll send us deals. He knows what we're looking for, and he does a great job. Now, if you sign up today, here's what we got. We're doing a bonus week where we're going to go through beyond the LOI, beyond getting it under contract. There's a lot more things that are going on. What do you do leading up to the acquisition? What do you do post-acquisition? What do you do to transition the business? What are the ongoing tasks of all the things? We got all the checklist worksheets, all the turnkey things, some automated things that you can plug into. This is all included for no additional cost. Then we've actually got a hidden link on that website where we've got all of the forms that you're going to want. These are your contracts, your notes, escrow account setup things, transition lists, employee letters, surveys, all kinds of things that you're going to want. Facility inspection reports, proration worksheets. When you sit down with the seller, there's always prorations you got to work out. All that stuff is also, we're throwing that in there with it too. Then I'm going to do a virtual merger training class. I've actually already done it, but you're going to get that recording, and that talks about how to build this out in such a way where you're not actually having to buy the companies. You can actually make deals with the sellers where they can come along for the ride too. This is a really cool, in fact, I can't even believe I'm giving this away. May reconsider it, but for right now, it's included. Also, we're going to give you all of these slides that we're going through and a free copy of the book. It'll be an e-copy or an e-book of the Don't Drive, Be Driven. So when you're taking over a business, there's so many tools in here that you can use to automate so many things in that business. So if you just add up those other three things and the value of those things that we're going to be doing, you're looking at over $22,000 worth of value, again, for $14.97, 93% off. And the reason we're doing this is because we want success stories. We want people who have done this, that we can put you on a call, put you on a video, and tell other people that you've been successful. That's why we're doing this. Here's another guy. This is a youth pastor. He's a good friend of mine, actually. And he's been working with us now for about probably 2 years. And just in those finder fees, he's made over $120,000. I mean, that's way more than he's made as a youth pastor, but he's able to do it in his part-time for doing this. Great guy. The best math you can learn is how to calculate the future cost of current decisions and the lost opportunity cost that you would have for not tapping into this 80%. I'm telling you, you're going to look back and you're going to regret it because the opportunity is so big. And people are going to make a lot of money and change a lot of lives, change a lot of families, keep employees employed, keep a business serving a community, keep customers with a place for them to be able to use those products and services. So the opportunity that you have to really look at here isn't the cost of the $14.97. Guys, let me be honest with you. I'm going to drive the same car. I'm going to sleep in my same house. I'm going to take my same trips. It doesn't matter to me if you do this or not. This won't change my life. It will change yours. It has changed mine, being able to do all this stuff. It will absolutely change your life. I promise you, we've got it. If all you did, if you went through this and said, you know what, I'm just going to send you a deal. You send us a deal, we close one of them, you've made, 10 times your money back if you just send us one deal. And people are sending us tons of deals. So the return on investment of this, you can't argue with it. So here's next steps. Here's what you do. This is something you would think you may be interested in. We don't work with everybody. There are people that we do turn away from this, that we tell them, look, this is not for you. Seriously. I mean, there's some moving parts here. There's some things that you kind of have to have some wherewithal about you to be able to do this. And so we need to talk to you first. Well, blueoceanworkshop.com. You can fill out an application. Here's how that works. The first thing you're going to go to is a link to a calendar where you can set a time, pick an available slot to speak with someone on our team. You'll be able to ask questions. You'll get all of the details on how this is going to work, when the next class starts, the whole thing. And then once you submit that calendar request for a time to talk, you'll be taken to the application. You need to complete the application. We need both of those things from you. Once you complete that, our team will call you, prepared to speak with you with the application. They'll be prepared to ask questions. And that way you can kind of collectively determine if this is going to be something right for you or not. If it is something that we determine is right for you, we can send you an email with the details on how to get signed up. Also, go ahead and join our Facebook page. That's free. It doesn't cost anything. Go to Buying Blue Oceans. It's a Facebook group that we've got, and there's a lot of community, a lot of conversations going on in there where people can, just talk back and forth. You don't have to have gone through this. We have another class, our virtual workshop group, that is a private group for people that have gone through the course. But this is more high level, more just a little bit, we'll post some videos in there, but I would encourage you to definitely plug into that. In the end, we only regret the chances we didn't take. And this is one of those chances you very likely would regret not taking advantage of, because it's all right there. It's all right there being laid out. All you have to do is take advantage of it. If you have any questions or anything, again, go to buyingblueoceans.com, schedule a time to talk to somebody on our team, and they'll be glad to help you out. But I appreciate you jumping on here and spending the time with us today. And we would love an opportunity to talk to you guys. So please hit us up, go to the website, go to the Facebook page, and we'll see you soon.